When I married Marcello, I was convinced that our love was eternal. We were young, overwhelmed by passion, and imagining a future without him seemed impossible to me. Our marriage had turned into a sort of social contract, yet despite the distance that separated us, deep in my heart, the feeling for him had never faded. Before continuing, subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing, while for us, it is fundamental. Then came Fernando, Marcello's best friend since childhood. He was everything that Marcello no longer was: spontaneous, unpredictable, and terribly charming. I remember the first time I saw him during one of our dinners at home. I couldn't keep my gaze from constantly returning to him, even though I was sitting next to my husband. His smile hid secrets, and his eyes followed me silently, as if they already knew everything I didn't yet have the courage to admit. Those dinners with Fernando became a regular event, and each time the tension between us grew, palpable. It was like a thin thread that vibrated with every word, with every look. Yet Marcello didn't seem to notice. He continued to joke with him, unaware of what was happening beneath the surface. I, on the other hand, struggled to stifle the forbidden thoughts and desires that coursed through me like electric shocks. One evening, after yet another dinner, Marcello fell asleep on the sofa, tired and peaceful. Fernando and I were left alone in the kitchen, with a glass of wine in our hands. His eyes searched mine, and we remained like that, in silence, until his hand touched mine. A light contact, almost a whisper, but enough to make all my defenses collapse. My heart was pounding, while my mind was screaming that this was wrong. But my body, that had already chosen. "You're playing with fire," I whispered to him, trying to hide the excitement in my voice. "I've always liked danger," he replied, with that smile of his that smacked of temptation. Nothing concrete happened that night, just lingering glances and innocent touches, but we both knew it was just the beginning. From that moment on, every time I saw him, an uncontrollable desire ignited inside me. It was as if Fernando had awakened a wild and indomitable side of me, a part I didn't know I had. Marcello, he still didn't notice anything. His blindness made me feel guilty, but at the same time it made me bolder. I wondered what would have happened if Fernando had revealed everything to Marcello, or if I had found the strength to stop that dangerous game. But part of me didn't want to stop. The day everything changed was a Sunday. Marcello and Fernando were watching the match in the living room, while I took refuge in the bedroom, trying to clarify my thoughts. But it was useless. After a while, Fernando entered the room with the excuse of getting a beer from the fridge in the corridor. But when our eyes met, I understood that he wasn't there just for that. He approached slowly, his movements cat-like, his smile turning into a grimace of desire. I felt like prey immobilized by his presence. His hands found my hips, and his hot breath brushed my skin. A shiver ran down my spine, a mixture of fear and desire. "Are you sure you want this?" he whispered in my ear, his voice a thread of temptation. I didn't answer. There was no need. My body spoke for me, drawing me closer to him until I felt the warmth of his chest. We kissed, and it was like breaking a dam. Passion exploded raw and uncontrollable. His hands roamed my body, discovering it as unknown territory. Every touch was a fire, every kiss a taste of what I shouldn't have wanted. Then, The sound of the living room door brought us back to reality. I pulled away from him, breathing heavily and eyes wide. Marcello was there, in the corridor, but fortunately, he didn't seem to have seen anything. Fernando gave me a knowing look and walked away quickly, leaving me there, alone, with my heartbeat ringing in my ears. That night, I didn't sleep a wink. Every time I looked at Marcello, the sense of guilt devoured me. But it was enough to think back to Fernando, to the warmth of his skin, for desire to take over again. Over the next few weeks, hiding how we felt became increasingly difficult. One look was enough for us to understand each other, and every opportunity to be alone was an invitation to sin. We stole kisses in the corridors. We touched each other in the kitchen while Marcello had his back to us. Every risk thrilled us, making the game even more dangerous. Until that evening. It was late. Marcello was drunk and had fallen asleep in his room. Fernando and I were left alone again. This time there was no break. We kissed desperately, pushed beyond all limits. Silently and quickly we locked ourselves in the bathroom, adrenaline coursing through our veins. Every sound was amplified, every breath a potential betrayal. But the excitement of the risk was too strong, and we let ourselves go, no longer worrying about the consequences. I don't know how much time we spent in that bathroom, but every minute seemed to stretch on forever. Every caress, every touch of skin was like a blow to everything I had built with Marcello. Yet with Fernando, it was different. It was as if a hidden part of me, one I had never known, had finally come to light, a part that I no longer wanted to suffocate. When we left, reality hit me like a punch in the stomach. I had just cheated on my husband, not with some random stranger, but with his best friend. There was no turning back. From that moment on, my life would never be the same again. Fernando kissed me on the forehead with a sweetness that contrasted with the passion he had just experienced. He left, leaving me there, motionless in front of the closed bathroom door, with my head full of thoughts and my heart pounding. I knew a decision had to be made, but I was too confused, too wrapped up in that whirlwind of emotions to be able to think clearly. And you, what would you have done in his place? Would you have confessed everything, or would you have tried to bury the secret? Tell me in the comments. In the following days, I tried with all my might to behave normally, as if nothing had happened. But every time I saw Fernando, the desire resurfaced, stronger than ever. I knew that ignoring it wouldn't be enough to turn it off. Then came that Sunday afternoon. Marcello, unaware of everything, decided to invite Fernando home for a barbecue. The thought of seeing him again made me uncomfortable, but when he arrived, I couldn't help the shiver that ran down my spine. Marcello was happy, laughing and joking as always, while I tried to maintain control, not to betray myself with one look too many. But Fernando enjoyed provoking me. His eyes followed me, giving me glances full of complicity. Only the two of us could grasp those hidden signs. During lunch, his every gesture seemed aimed at me. His jokes, his smiles, even the way he moved, sent me a clear message. Marcello was completely unaware. His trust, his lightheartedness, were a sharp blade that cut inside me. It made me feel even more guilty. After lunch, while Marcello was in the kitchen, Fernando joined me in the garden. We were alone. The sun filtered through the branches of the trees, creating an unreal atmosphere. He sat down next to me, his knee touching mine. That light contact made something explode inside me. "I can't stop thinking about you," he murmured in a low voice, barely a whisper. I turned to him, torn between surprise and desire. I felt my skin heating up, my breathing getting shorter. "Fernando, we have to stop," I told him, but my voice betrayed the weakness of my intentions. He smiled, confident, and that was enough for me to understand that we were already beyond the point of no return. The line between right and wrong had become thin, almost invisible, and the risk of being discovered only fueled that forbidden flame. When Marcello returned with the coffee, Fernando and I quickly composed ourselves, keeping up appearances. He remained impassive, while I tried to stifle the storm stirring inside me. The following weeks were torment. Every meeting with Fernando was a dangerous dance, made up of stolen glances and veiled touches. His every gesture ignited desire, made me feel alive and guilty. At night, while Marcello slept next to me, the sense of guilt consumed me. Then came that Friday night. Marcello told me he would be back late. I was alone in the house when a message arrived from Fernando. "I'm on my way 10 minutes and I'll be with you." I should have told him no, but I didn't. Part of me was already waiting for him, longing. When he arrived, his confident smile took my breath away. There was no hesitation. We kissed immediately, without any more restraints. We headed to the bedroom, and this time there were no half measures. We abandoned ourselves to passion, lost in each other, without thinking of the consequences. But right at the height of the pleasure, a noise froze the air. The door of the house opening. Marcello had returned earlier than expected. Terror paralyzed me. I pulled away from Fernando, my heart pounding. I tried to get dressed quickly, to make sense of the confusing thoughts that crowded my mind. Fernando looked at me, his face tense, aware of the gravity of what was happening. Marcello's voice sounded from the corridor. "Love, I'm home." He was cheerful, unaware of the bomb that was about to explode. In an instant, everything stopped. Marcello entered the room and his expression changed immediately. His eyes went from me to Fernando, and in an instant he understood everything. There was no need to explain, to justify. The scene spoke for itself. His face, a moment before serene, contorted into an expression of disbelief and anger. His hands curled into fists, and for a moment I feared he would lose control. "What the?" Marcello murmured, unable to find the words. In his eyes, I saw the deep wound I had inflicted on him, a pain I never wanted to cause him. And in that suspended silence, my whole world collapsed. I couldn't say anything. Shame tightened my throat. Guilt tightened my chest like a knot that wouldn't untie. I felt suffocated. Every breath was a burden. Every second spent in the unbearable silence made the disaster even more irreparable. Marcello looked first at Fernando, then at me. His eyes, usually so calm, were now a stormy sea. "How long?" he asked, his voice broken, barely a whisper. Fernando opened his mouth, perhaps to seek justification, but I stopped him immediately. "Marcello, I'm really sorry," I stammered, but my words were empty, light as burnt paper. Nothing I said would ease the pain I had caused him. I had betrayed the man I loved, and I had done it in the worst way possible. Without saying anything else, Marcello turned and left the room. The dull sound of the door closing was like a blow to the stomach. I stood there, frozen in silence, unable to move or think. I knew, with the cold certainty of a knife plunged into my chest, that I had lost him forever. After Marcello left, the house became a desert. Every corner, every object spoke of him. I couldn't look at Fernando. His presence made me feel dirty, trapped in a web of lies and wrong desires. He dressed quickly, his movements awkward and fast. He leaned closer to me, his lips searching for words that weren't there. "I didn't want it to be like this," he murmured. His voice was thin, full of remorse, but also of an unresolved desire that made everything even more confusing. I looked at him but didn't answer. I couldn't do it. Reality hit me like a wave. I realized how much I had destroyed, my marriage, my happiness, all for a momentary thrill. The next few days passed slow and heavy. I wandered around the house like a ghost, suffocated by guilt. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Marcello's face, marked by the pain I had inflicted on him. I had tried to contact him, to send him messages, but he didn't respond. Our apartment, without him, was just an empty shell. Fernando, on the other hand, didn't stop looking for me. Messages, calls, words suspended in thin air, but I avoided it. I couldn't look at him anymore, not after what had happened. Whatever had been between us was now just ash. Then one day, Marcello replied. He arranged to meet me in a small cafe near his house. When I saw him, his face was tired, hollowed out by disappointment. He didn't speak immediately, and that silence crushed me more than 1,000 accusations. "Marcello, I'm sorry. I know I can't undo what I've done, but I'd like to explain," I began, the words falling heavy between us. He raised a hand, stopping me. "I don't want explanations," he said softly, but with a firmness that took my breath away. "It wouldn't change anything. What happened destroyed everything. I don't know if I can ever forgive you." His words were a punch in the stomach. I had never seen him like this, and I realized that perhaps there really was nothing left to save. "What hurts me the most," he continued, "is not just the physical betrayal. It's that it happened with Fernando, my best friend. You both stabbed me." I tried to hold back the tears. I didn't want to cry in front of him. I didn't want to show myself weak, even if I was already shattered inside. In the following days, Marcello packed his things and left for good. The house was now an empty prison. I sat on the bed, the sight of him still smelling of his aftershave. I realized that everything was over. Fernando didn't stop looking for me. His messages were full of apologies, of longing, but also of misplaced hope. Finally, I took courage and called him. "We can't see each other anymore, Fernando. It's over." "You can't really think it ended like this," he replied, his voice full of frustration. "It's over, Fernando. I can't do it anymore." I tried to stay calm, but inside I only felt a deep emptiness. After that phone call, I closed all contact with him. I no longer responded to his messages. I ignored his calls. I knew that the only way to rebuild myself was to leave everything behind, but the void I was left with was unbearable. The months passed, slow and gray. Every now and then, Marcello and I met to sort out the final divorce paperwork. There was no more anger in his eyes, just a sadness that never faded. I had lost his love, his trust, and nothing could bring it back to me. I thought long and hard about how I got to that point. I realized that it wasn't just a matter of desire or attraction for Fernando. There was an emptiness inside me, an insatiable hunger that I had tried to quench in the wrong way. Life went on, but the scars remained. Every time I passed that cafe, every time a song took me back to him, I felt a pang in my heart. Eventually, I learned to live with my pain, with my mistakes. But I never forgot the price I had paid for those moments of passion. I found myself alone, with that void that I had tried to avoid, and I understood that only I could fill it. If you want to receive new videos of the series, write, "I want the sequel," in the comments. If you like the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel to receive a preview of future publications. Thank you.